So what I'm about to talk about is a little controversial among progressives, and that's understandable. First and foremost, let's understand what's going on here. There are a lot of progressives who are mad about the treatment of Bernie Sanders during the primaries. Understandably so. Done by the media and the Democratic Party in general. They're split. Progressives aren't really Democrats. That's an argument for another time, but I don't think so. They don't want to vote for an establishment candidate like Joe Biden. But I really, really think, and I'm not here to get on this moral high ground and preach to the masses, to progressives, that you should vote for Biden. I'm not going to do that I am doing that. I'm not doing that because I want to virtue signal. I'm doing that because I really think that it's important. It is incredibly important for the United States and the world that we get Orange Man out of office. I don't like the liberal stance that Orange Man bad every day. It gets tiring. It's annoying. Let's discuss more policy. But for a second, let's understand why it is a very bad idea to not cast your vote from any utilitarian perspective. I'm not looking at utilitarian as this idea that not doing what is immoral is the thing with the greatest amount of consequences to people. And that, in this case, is to not cast a vote for Joe Biden. So let's understand what kind of president we're dealing with here. We are dealing with a president that, let's talk pandemic first, because it's a big issue in the country right now, that has openly lied in favor of keeping economy. I'm not in support of lockdowns, by the way. I've supported the lockdowns. I don't want more lockdowns. I believe people should take a pro-science approach to this, in which we have a definitely anti-science candidate. Take a pro-science backing, wear masks, do these things to reduce transmission, but really try to sustain a life until we get a working vaccine. But this is not a man that's done that. This man has lied to the American people, denied the severity of the crisis, and done all of these things, costed American lives, just so that he can continue and proudly have his narcissistic economy. This is a narcissistic economy. What I mean by that is it's high. The stock market is high, and that's all he cares about. You know why he only cares about that? Because it feeds into his narcissism that it's his economy. So let's look at some of the, just something he said recently.
Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust what you have to say now?
Such a terrible question, and the phraseology, I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm, we can't be panicked. I knew that the tapes these were a series of phone calls that we had, mostly phone calls. And Bob Woodward is somebody that I respect just from hearing the name for many, many years, not knowing too much about his work, not caring about his work. But I thought it would be interesting to talk to him for a period of, calls. So we did that. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't even know if the book is good or bad. But certainly if he thought that was a bad statement, he would have reported it because he thinks that, you don't want to have anybody that is going to suffer medically because of some fact. And he didn't report it because he didn't think it was bad. Nobody thought it was bad. Wait a minute. And your question, the way you phrase that is such a disgrace. It's a disgrace to ABC television network. It's a disgrace to your employer. And that's the answer. You ready? Because I love. Of course I didn't. Of course I didn't.
No. Deadlier than the flu, and then you went out and told
We can stop it there. So this is a man that knew something different at the beginning of this pandemic and acted in an entirely different way. Not in a way that actually reduced panic, but that cost lives. It did reduce panic, but it caused people to become complacent. Was this as bad as we originally thought it was? No. Is it still bad? Yes, it's still bad. And we should be doing things to reduce infection rates within this country. Whether we say it out loud or not, the plan of the United States is herd immunity. And hopefully, like I've said, we follow Sweden's path. Herd immunity is a closer thing than we think. So here, we have a man who will lie, who's costed lives, and who has not accepted the science even at all yet, is continuing to put people in a position or he's continuing to have people crowd into his indoor rallies. He just did it recently. I think it was in Nevada. I think he did it in Las Vegas or wherever it was. Indoor crowding. He continues to do it. He still costs his own supporters lives. What a strange guy this guy is. What an evil, twisted man. I don't think he needs to go back in office. That's not to say that Biden is a great person either. We'll talk about that a little briefly, but let's also look at his campaign. For any progressive, let's understand that voting for Trump is very much a regressive tactic. There is no win in voting for Trump here. See, we have regressive immigration policies, this border wall, xenophobia, constant pushes for and hate rhetoric, growing division, racial division within this country that he blames on the Democrats, but is really his own followers who are pushing very, very xenophobic, very fascistic policies here. And that may be alarmist calling him fascistic, but we just looked yesterday that he's been very, very much fear-mongering about elections and votings and who, you know, and certain groups, socialists and patriotism, this rising patriotism. He is a terrifying individual, I think, in some ways. Now, I don't think he's actually that dangerous, but he's not a good man to have in office. So we're looking at foreign policy, though he has promised to reduce military. He's trying to bring down militarization across the globe in some ways, but he's also ordered like twice the amount of drone strikes as President Obama. He at the beginning of 2020 kind of pushed us into hashtag World War III was trending, but I don't think we were near World War III in any way, in any diplomatic level. But he's not a peaceful man, and he's continued to grow the military budget. Healthcare, very regressive. We get nowhere near a Medicare for All program. We get people losing their healthcare coverage rather than people gaining it. We get people losing it and having to force to buy what, yes, may be cheaper coverage through a public program, but overall less people are getting access to it. This is not law and justice, this idea, this very regressive past criminalization of things that don't really need to be criminalized. So we're looking at those stances, and let's talk about how we've reacted. He's very much an anti-science candidate. What about global warming, in which we're seeing the effects now, today, of global warming? Let's not forget that
California's in flames again, and breaking records again. This year's fires have scorched more than 3.1 million acres so far, surpassing the 2018 record of 1.96 million acres.
See, this is incredibly important. She said it very, very well. Said it right. She said it for me. Look, we talked about yesterday when we were looking, the day before, when we were looking at Tucker Carlson's segment on climate change. And yes, was this fire started by something else? Yes. Some of the idea was started by gender reveal party? Yes. But the intensity of these fires, the heat is causing this to be so much worse, as you see here. 330 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe this was the hottest place on Earth on record recently. I'm not sure. But we're looking at fire intensity that has not been seen before in recent history, and they've only been growing in intensity. There is a trend here. So yes, the spark, whether it be natural or man-made, that's a cause. But what global warming predicts is the intensity of these fires will be out of control due to the conditions that climate change produces. So yes, here we are. We're seeing the effects of climate change, but in this president, we're seeing
This was just like
action whatsoever. This is the president. This is the man who's not doing a single thing about climate change, and this is something that really, really, really needs to be handled. Certain progressive policies are supported by the Biden campaign, that is raising the minimum wage. And at least from any utilitarian standpoint, his healthcare system is better. His healthcare plan, is better than what we're seeing from the Republicans. We are getting poor people access to healthcare. No, it's not Medicare for all, but he plans to at least give access to 98 or 97% of Americans What happens to the other 3? Well, that's why we continue fighting for Medicare for all. But at the end of the day, we're only causing lasting, indefinite suffering by not voting for President Biden. And it's important that we really understand that the damage that we're causing by trying to get a progressive platform is not worth it. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. So by voting for President Trump, what you are doing is you're extending the effects of climate change. You're continuing regressive and racist policies continually, hurting many groups. You are extenuating a lack of healthcare coverage for Americans for another 4 years. You are doing all of these things all because you want to play politics. And I understand. We can be mad. We can do things. We can fight at the end of during a Biden presidency. But at least during a Biden presidency, we have a greater chance of achieving some of those goals. We can't. It's terrible. It sucks that we have another profit-loving candidate that's likely going to go back in office. But at the end of the day, we don't need a fascist-like individual getting another 4 years. This was very short. I hope to go into much more detail in the future. But it's really important that you take this into account and you try to understand that from a moral perspective, this is not good. We're extending suffering just to reach a goal. Either way, I hope you enjoyed. Again, we'll go into much more detail later with policy positions and whatnot. But I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And at the end of the day, if you agree, please let me know why, and why, from a moral perspective, we may have a better chance by not voting for Biden. Because I think the Democratic Party, this is another point, I think that the Democratic Party, if Biden loses, they're going to continue their same rhetoric and campaign that, this is the fault of Russian bots. This is because progressives, a minority group within the party, have been reluctant to vote for Mr. Biden. I think we're going to see that, and I think we're just going to see another corporate Democrat at the end of the day. So, either way, give me your opinion. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.